What if Qui Gon Jinn had visions of Order 66 and Darth Vader? That's what I want to go over today. I hope you guys enjoy this video. Happy Halloween, and let's get right into it. Qui Gon Jinn was kneeling down in front of the red, ray-shielded door, waiting for it to open. He took this moment to enter battle meditation, feeling the Force all around him. His Padawan, Obi-Wan Kenobi, stood behind him, eager and ready to rejoin the battle. And in front of him, a cloud of darkness, hatred, rage, anger, dark side emotions swirling all around, darker than anything Qui-Gon had ever felt. This Sith had clearly grown up training and learning to only hate the Jedi. It was quite sad, really, and Qui-Gon dove deeper into the Force, feeling something else. Just off-world, in space, was Anakin Skywalker, and with the Force so awakened in this room, Qui-Gon was granted a vision of sorts. He could feel it was about Anakin, and so Qui-Gon dove deeper into the vision. Suddenly, everything around him was spinning, blurry. He saw Yoda, Obi-Wan, and then he saw Anakin grow up. He was back on Tatooine, holding his mother. Moments later, Qui-Gon watched as Anakin was killing Tusken Raiders mercilessly. Qui tried to scream, "Anakin, no!" but was thrown further through this vision. Standing in another blur, a red room of sorts, he could only make out voices, and one of them was extremely raspy, telling what Qui-Gon thought to be Anakin that he will become a great Sith. And again, Qui was thrown through his vision. Suddenly he was in the Jedi Temple. He walked to the stairs to see hundreds, no, thousands of white armored troopers of some sort, climbing these stairs led by Anakin. But why? And Qui watched helplessly as Anakin and these troopers moved through the temple, slaughtering Jedi. And then he flew through the vision again, felt hot, the air was red, lava flowing around everything, and nearby, Anakin stood on a floating platform as Obi-Wan stood above him on much higher ground. Qui watched Anakin jump, and then get cut down, screaming in agony, hatred, and everything went dark. Qui looked around and saw nothing, but he heard breathing, mechanical breathing, and then a red lightsaber ignited in front of Qui, lighting up the room. The mechanical droid, surrounded by a dark cloud, charged at Qui-Gon, and he ignited his green lightsaber. After a few blocks, Qui-Gon cut open the mask to reveal Anakin inside of this suit. With a gasp, Qui felt himself be thrown through the vision again, and now he was back on Naboo. The red door and the Sith in front of him were still there. Though his vision could have lasted a few minutes, only a few seconds had gone by in real time. And from the vision, Qui-Gon came to a realization. He saw himself nowhere in the vision. Perhaps that means he is supposed to die here and now. But this vision gave Qui-Gon a renewed sense of purpose. He couldn't die. He couldn't let Anakin become that monster, influenced by the Sith. So a renewed sense of purpose flowed through him. He'd never felt the Force more strongly than this. The light side of the Force gave him focus. And the red door finally opened. Qui waited in perfect harmony, anticipating every move of this Sith, as he spun forward, and Qui blocked a strike from both sides of the lightsaber, then saw an opening, and swung with extreme precision, cutting off the Sith Lord's hands. The Sith made eye contact with Qui, shocked by this sudden change, and Qui force pushed him hard into the wall, knocking him unconscious. Obi-Wan eventually caught up to Qui-Gon, and he was standing next to the Sith Lord. He too could sense this shift in the Force, like Qui-Gon found something deep within himself. And Qui-Gon told Obi-Wan that they will take this Sith to the Jedi Temple. Perhaps in time, he will provide necessary answers to what is going on. And so they carried Maul through the plasma refinery, all the way back to the hangar, eventually finding Anakin. Qui-Gon smiled as the boy came running up to him, excitedly explaining how he destroyed this Trade Federation ship, saved Jar Jar and the Gungans. And as Qui-Gon watched the boy happily go on and on, he remembered what Anakin could become through the influence of the Sith in the galaxy. But perhaps with the capture of this one, the Jedi could find the necessary answers. After some time, the Jedi Council was in session as Qui-Gon stood in the center of it. He was detailing to the Council everything he'd learned and saw on Naboo. Qui was afraid that the Council would hear of his vision and declined to accept Anakin into the Order, but after detailing everything he saw, he told the Council that letting Anakin leave and be open for the taking from the Sith would be a mistake. Yoda eventually leaned forward, saying that the capture of Maul can be a turning point for the return of the Sith. The Jedi can try to get answers from him, and even if the Sith refuses to answer, this can still be a trap for the Master. The Council was pretty sure that the captured Sith was merely the apprentice, and so the Master would try to create a plan to eliminate the apprentice, so he cannot tell the Jedi anything. Yoda said that the Sith would be interrogated, but also kept under constant watch for when the Master tries to infiltrate the temple. And across Coruscant, inside of the hidden Sith lair in the industrial sector, Jedi Master Dooku was reporting what happened with Maul to Darth Sidious. Maul not only failed to kill the Jedi on Naboo, but he was now being held captive inside of the temple, and this made Sidious angry. There was a possibility that Maul would reveal everything and destroy his plan before it could ever truly begin. So Sidious looked at Dooku, realizing he had the perfect weapon for what needed to be done, and so Sidious told Dooku to assassinate Maul, and then he will become the true apprentice of the Sith. And so Dooku began putting together a plan of how this would work for him. He would need a distraction to get to Maul, something drastic that would avert all attention away from him. And later that night, as the temple was mostly asleep, Dooku stood on a balcony watching the Coruscant traffic go by. He was strong in the Force, but the recent exploration of the dark side had only made him stronger. He looked around to make sure no Jedi were nearby, then he reached out, putting all of his focus into blasting Force lightning for the first time. Using the dark side, Dooku finally did it, and lightning struck a nearby speeder. The speeder shorted out, then shut down, and began to fall to the ground, so Dooku grabbed it with the Force, and with all of his strength he pulled the shut-down speeder towards the open Jedi Temple hangar door. Dooku watched as the speeder crashed into the hangar, crashing into many Jedi ships, and creating a chain reaction of explosions. This would surely cause panic throughout the temple, and this was his chance to go and kill Maul. Qui-Gon woke up in a jolt as alarms were being heard throughout the temple, alarms that signified an attack. Jedi Masters were being called down to the temple hangar to investigate and help the many injured Jedi, so Qui-Gon quickly ran out of his quarters to help, but he came to a sudden halt. An attack on the hangar the same night that a Sith Lord was captured. This was no coincidence. This was a distraction, and so Qui took off alone towards the temple prison. Inside of the prison, Dooku snuck in and saw Maul was being guarded by 4 temple guards. Security would have been much higher if not for his distraction. He could handle 4 guards, and so he reached out with the Force, choking one of them, and the guard dropped his weapon, clawing at his throat. The other 3 began to panic, looking for the source of the Force choke, and Dooku moved quickly, cutting one in half, then flipping over the other 2 as they turned. He stabbed one in the back, then snapped the throat of the guard he was choking. Now he engaged in the final guard for a duel. The guard was strong, but Dooku could discard of him in a matter of minutes. Meanwhile, Qui-Gon got to the temple prison entrance and discovered that the door was open, but not cut open. This meant one terrible thing. Whoever was going to kill the Sith was not only a Jedi, but a Jedi Master with access to the prison. Qui grabbed his lightsaber and took off down the stairs, unsure if he was ready for what comes next. After a brief duel, Dooku was able to cut down the final guard and looked to Maul. He was standing in the prison, angry as he realized the Sith were betraying him. Maul knew Dooku was working with his master, and so now Maul knew he was being replaced for his failure. There was nothing he could do. He had Force restraining cuffs on his wrists without his hands. He had nothing. It was over. But as Dooku went to open the ray shield door, a new lightsaber ignited behind him. And Dooku didn't have to turn to know who this was. He could feel it in the Force. The fallen Jedi closed his eyes and sadly said, "I'm sorry it has come to this, my apprentice." Part of Dooku wanted to recruit Qui-Gon to his side, but deep down he knew it could never happen. Qui was strong in his belief in the light, and Qui-Gon was in utter disbelief. It was Dooku. He was the Sith. Qui had seen his former master display darkness on more than one occasion, but to fall completely to the dark side, to kill Jedi, this was too far. He had to be stopped. But to fall completely to the dark side was too much. Qui-Gon asked why Dooku was doing this, and Dooku turned, igniting his blue lightsaber, saying that in order for the Republic to become strong again, to become right and just, it must first be torn down. The two of them got into a battle stance, master and apprentice, years of training, friendship, and a deep connection disappearing as the battle began. The clash of lightsabers went on to echo off the cold stone walls as Qui-Gon and Dooku clashed against each other with precise strikes. Qui-Gon's green lightsaber glowing brightly as he moved with desire to bring down the Sith, his every move deliberate. But Dooku, his blue lightsaber becoming an insult to the Jedi Order, countered Qui-Gon's attacks with crazy skill. The fight would rage on, each of them drawing upon years of training and experience with each other. Qui-Gon's determination was evident in his every strike. Dooku, on the other hand, fought with a fierce dark side power, knowing this is the sacrifice that he must now make to become the Sith apprentice. As the battle reached its climax, Dooku's superior dueling skills began to tip the balance in his favor. With a sad but decisive move, he disarmed Qui-Gon, sending Qui-Gon's lightsaber clattering across the floor. So Dooku now slashed Qui-Gon across the chest, and then across the leg, leaving him falling down, gasping for breath on the cold floor. And the room fell into a tense silence as Dooku stood above his former apprentice. He apologized to Qui-Gon and lifted his saber for the kill. But as he did so, Qui-Gon reached out with his hand, unlocking Maul, releasing the cuffs, praying that Maul would do the right thing. And Maul couldn't do much without his hands, but before Dooku realized what was happening, Maul flipped across the room and used a force kick on Dooku that sent him crashing against the wall. Qui-Gon was badly hurt, and he couldn't stop what Maul was doing now, as he lifted both Qui-Gon and Dooku's lightsabers with the force, sending them flying through the air to stab Dooku, killing him quickly. And now Maul stood in the prison, free, but with nowhere to go. Darth Sidious, his master, had betrayed him. He could leave, but he would never be safe. His master would hunt him down forever, but he could get revenge. He could bring the Jedi to his master. Sidious could die. Maul had grown up hating the Jedi, but now it was time for him to do whatever gave him the best chance to survive. And so for the first time, he spoke to Qui-Gon, going over this potential plan. Qui-Gon said this would work, and Maul backed up into his cell as Qui-Gon used the Force to turn the ray shield back on. They would make it look like Qui killed Dooku, and now Maul would tell the Jedi how to find the real Sith Master. Eventually, Yoda, Windu, and Plo Koon made their way into the temple prison. After the hangar bay explosion was resolved, they realized something may have happened with Maul. And they were right. Spread across the floor were the bodies of 4 temple guards. Qui-Gon was slumped against the wall, with cuts across his chest and leg, but he was alive. And on the other wall, Dooku lay dead from lightsaber stabs. And so Qui-Gon quickly explained everything. How when the alarms began, he came here, thinking the hangar was a distraction, and he found Master Dooku killing temple guards, preparing to kill Maul. So he did what he had to do. Yoda didn't want to believe his former Padawan Dooku could have fallen so far down this dark path, but he knew it was true. He'd always felt a darkness within him, and Dooku had spoken with him about leaving the Order. Clearly, his path away from the Jedi had led him down a terrible, dark path. And as the Jedi helped Qui-Gon get to his feet, Maul spoke up from the prison. He told the Jedi that the Sith had betrayed him. They came here to kill him, and he wanted revenge, so he would guide the Jedi to the lair of the Sith. Yoda said the Jedi must discuss this first, and so he called an emergency council meeting. After a bit, everyone was in attendance, including Qui-Gon, as Yoda detailed everything they knew. They captured one Sith on Naboo, and now Dooku was trying to kill that Sith. It was all one big messy web, but it was clear there was still something in the center of it all. the true Sith Lord. And Yoda revealed that the captured Sith was offering to take the Jedi to the lair to kill the Master. After some discussion, the Jedi decided they had to take this chance and go with Maul, but not all of the Jedi. This could be a trap, so the Council decided a squad of 5 Jedi would go with Maul. Yoda, Windu, Plo Koon, Depa Billaba, and Yaddle. One spot would have been offered to Qui Gon, but he was too injured. Part of him was relieved he would get to see his new Padawan, Anakin Skywalker, in peace, and the rest of the Council would lock down the temple in case it really was a trap. No one in, and no one out until the Jedi return. Soon after the meeting, the squad of 5 Jedi boarded a Jedi transport with Maul. They didn't know whether or not to trust him at all, but in the Force, he did not feel dangerous or untrustworthy. He, like many Sith before him, was blinded by the need for revenge, and they took off through Coruscant. Darth Sidious stood in his lair, waiting for the return of Dooku, but the longer he waited, the more things began to feel off. He moved through the lair to a room where he could perform Sith alchemy, see into the Force, make himself stronger, and as he began his rituals, he looked to the entrance as 5 lightsabers suddenly ignited. And now he knew that not only did Maul fail, but Dooku also failed, and now one of them has betrayed him. A cold, hate-filled voice spoke from behind the Jedi, saying, "Goodbye, my master." It was Maul, and Sidious pulled out his own red lightsaber, preparing for a fight. Though it was 5-on-1, he had some advantage here. The Jedi haven't had to fight a Sith in thousands of years, and he was beyond powerful. The odds were close to even, and so he flipped into battle, knowing this is what he must do to save his own legacy. Yoda leapt into action to meet the Sith Lord, his green lightsaber flashing in the darkness, and Windu moved with his own purpose, countering Sidious's attacks with his own moves. Plo Koon's blue lightsaber hummed from each swing as he defended the Jedi. Depa Billaba jumped in, fighting valiantly, channeling her inner strength to hold her ground, and Yaddle displayed incredible agility, deflecting Sidious's attacks with surprising speed. Despite their bravery and their ability to work as one, the Sith Lord was relentless, his strikes coming from every angle, his mastery of the dark side evident in every movement. And in the midst of this battle, Sidious's power surged, and he pulled down parts of the walls, separating Depa and Yaddle from the rest. Smiling, he moved forward, and with a deadly strike, he caught Depa off guard, extinguishing her lightsaber and cutting her down. Yaddle pressed on alone. However, Sidious, drawing upon his own dark power, caught her in the air with a blast of lightning, overwhelming Yaddle and pulling her in for a final, lethal stab. Yoda, Mace, and Plo, perhaps the 3 best duelists in the Order, finally broke through the debris. They charged forward as one, their blue, green, and purple lightsabers blending together in the fight. And after some time, despite Sidious's growing power, they managed to find an opening in his defenses. In a moment of combined effort, they seized the opportunity, and Plo Koon delivered a final blow that brought down the Sith Lord. Darth Sidious, the embodiment of darkness, fell to the floor silenced forever, and the Jedi Masters stood above him, victorious but somber, mourning their fallen comrades. After a moment, Windu looked around to realize that Maul had escaped, but he was no longer a true Sith. His hands were gone. He was betrayed by his own master. Perhaps he was no threat, and so the Jedi returned to the temple and to the Senate to bring the news of who Palpatine truly was. Meanwhile, on Dathomir, a broken and desperate Maul returned to find Mother Talzin. She helped Maul restore his hands and his full strength, and he felt great power be restored within himself. But the Sith were extinguished, and Qui Gon Jinn would dedicate himself to his new Padawan, Anakin Skywalker. There was no dark side influence for Anakin to fall to, no nightmares, no war, and through the years, Anakin would go on to become one of the greatest Jedi in the Order, saving his mother from death this time, but still marrying Padme Amidala behind the Jedi's back. Eventually, Anakin became trusted by the entire Jedi Order, becoming a Jedi Master. All was well in the Force, with the only thing laying in the shadows being the former Sith, Maul. but the Jedi were stronger than ever, with the Chosen One at the forefront. And folks, that's where our story ends today. Less focused on Anakin, and more focused on Qui-Gon and the Jedi just acting quickly after Qui-Gon has the vision. So, hope you guys enjoyed. It's a path I did enjoy going down. Different than some. So, yeah. We killed the Sith before Phantom Menace even ends. So, hope you enjoyed. If not, my apologies. But overall, yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. Hope you did as well. Let me know which one you want to see next, and I'll see you in the next video.